Imagine you're handed a block of ice and asked to carry it as far as possible on foot. That block is your wealth. The distance you travel is time. And the question is simple. How much of your value survives the journey? 7 people accept the challenge. Each carries a different kind of ice. Some blocks vanish almost instantly. Some melt slowly. Some endure, but demand constant care. And one behaves very differently from the rest. By the end of this video, you will discover the best asset to hold to preserve your wealth over a long period of time. Because every store of value melts differently. The rules are simple. You have unlimited food, but no water. The air temperature is 10 degrees Celsius, not extreme, not hostile, just warm enough to expose weakness. The first traveller carries Iranian currency, but this ice is barely ice at all. The moment it is touched, it collapses into water. There is nothing to carry, nothing to protect, nothing to pass on. Some money does not fail slowly. It fails on contact with reality. The walk ends before it begins. The second traveller carries the Turkish lira. This block looks real. It feels cold. It has weight. But with every step, it drips away. Not instantly, not dramatically, just steadily. The traveller keeps moving, but every step costs value. A little less purchasing power, a little less confidence, a little less future. Eventually, the block disappears. The journey does not end in panic, it ends in inevitability. The third traveller carries the US dollar. This ice feels safer. It melts quietly, slowly, almost politely. At first, the traveller barely notices. The block is large enough, familiar enough, accepted by everyone along the road. Other people trust it, shops accept it, governments measure things in it, markets depend on it. So the traveller feels secure. But the important thing is this: the block never grows, it only diminishes. Inflation does not always arrive like a fire. Sometimes it arrives like a warm room. You do not feel the loss day by day. You simply look down after many years and realise the block is still there, but much smaller than it used to be. That is the quiet danger of comfortable money. It does not terrify you, it reassures you while it weakens you. The fourth traveller carries real estate. Now the ice changes. This block is not exposed in the same way. It is wrapped in a hard protective shell. It has weight, location, utility, and social importance. People need shelter. Land is finite. Buildings can produce income. So this traveller moves more confidently than the first 3. Real estate feels solid because it is visible. You can touch it, improve it, rent it, borrow against it, pass it down. For many families, it has been the great engine of wealth preservation. But real estate is not passive ice. It must be managed. The shell cracks. Repairs are needed, taxes must be paid, tenants may leave, interest rates may rise, governments may change the rules, liquidity may disappear exactly when it is needed most. A house can preserve value for decades. But it can also become expensive at the wrong moment. A property can generate income, but it can also demand capital, attention, and patience. Real estate can protect wealth across generations, but only if someone keeps tending to it. It is not simply a store of value, it is responsibility. That is what makes real estate powerful and dangerous. It can shelter value, but it can also trap it. And this is the middle of the journey, the point where wealth stops being just something you hold and becomes something you must actively steward. The fifth traveller carries gold. This block does not melt. It is ancient, trusted, and physically scarce. For thousands of years, people have recognised its hardness. Gold survives empires, currencies, and political promises. It does not need a tenant, it does not need a government, it does not need a central bank to defend it, it simply exists, and that is its strength. But there is a catch. There is no water on the journey. And to survive, the traveller must occasionally consume small pieces of the block. Gold preserves purchasing power, but when used, it shrinks. It is durable, but it is not productive. It can protect you from collapse, but it does not compound your future. It is excellent at surviving disorder, but less effective at creating growth. Gold is the ice that does not melt, but also does not multiply. It protects the traveller, but it does not change the journey. The sixth traveller carries Bitcoin. This ice behaves differently. It glows faintly orange. It does not melt as the others do. In fact, over time it grows colder and harder. The traveller is cautious at first. They protect it. They consume very little. They think in decades, not days, and gradually the block becomes more potent. This is low time preference. This is scarcity expressed through code. This is the idea that savings should not be punished simply because time passes. Bitcoin is not a building to maintain, it is not a metal to store, it is not a currency to trust. It is a monetary system designed around the refusal to melt. And that changes the psychology of the traveller. They no longer ask, how fast can I spend this before it loses value? They ask, how much can I preserve for the longest possible walk? The seventh traveller carries a smaller glowing orange block. This is a Bitcoin treasury company. At first, it looks like a weaker version of the Bitcoin block, but it behaves differently. It is not simply trying to hold Bitcoin, it is trying to increase Bitcoin per share over time. That is the crucial difference. A well-run Bitcoin treasury company does not merely ask how much Bitcoin do we own, it asks how much Bitcoin backs each share. Because if the company can raise capital intelligently, manage dilution carefully, and acquire more Bitcoin in a way that increases Bitcoin per share, then the traveller's block can grow in Bitcoin terms as the journey continues, not just in dollar terms, in Bitcoin value. That is what makes the block so unusual. It can grow while walking, but only under the right conditions. This is not automatic. It is not guaranteed, and it is not true for every company that calls itself a Bitcoin treasury company. Some will dilute shareholders without increasing Bitcoin per share. Some will take on too much risk. Some will mistake financial engineering for genuine value creation. And in those cases, the glowing block does not grow stronger. It cracks. But for the right company, with disciplined management, intelligent capital allocation, and a clear focus on growing Bitcoin per share, the effect can be powerful. The traveller does not merely protect the block, they reinvest. They optimize, they use structure, markets, and strategy to try to increase the amount of Bitcoin represented by each share. That makes it more dynamic than simply holding Bitcoin, but also more fragile. Bitcoin is the base asset. Bitcoin treasury companies are not the base asset. They are vehicles. They can create upside, optionality, and compounding exposure, but they require judgment. And this is where the full lesson becomes clear. When the temperature rises, when inflation turns up the heat, the weakest blocks reveal themselves first. The Iranian bloc disappears, the Turkish lira melts faster, the dollar's quiet decay becomes visible. Real estate may benefit from inflation, but higher rates, taxes, and maintenance can expose its fragility. Gold holds its form, but must still be consumed. Bitcoin hardens as scarcity becomes more valuable. And the right, well-run Bitcoin treasury companies may grow faster, not merely because the Bitcoin price rises, but because Bitcoin per share increases over time. That distinction matters. A company can own Bitcoin and still destroy value. But a disciplined treasury company can potentially grow the Bitcoin value behind each share. Inflation does not create weakness. It reveals it. It shows which assets depend on trust, which depend on management, which depend on scarcity, and which depend on constant intervention. Every person is walking with a block of ice. Some are carrying currencies that melt before they understand what happened. Some are carrying assets that survive but demand constant care. Some are carrying hard money that holds its form. And some are carrying systems designed to become stronger across time. Bitcoin is savings. Bitcoin treasury companies are investments. Real estate is stewardship. But the order matters. Savings must come before investment. The base asset must be understood before the vehicle. And Bitcoin per share matters because it tells you whether a treasury company is truly increasing your claim on Bitcoin or simply telling a better story while the block quietly weakens. You do not need to choose only one, but you do need to understand what you are carrying. Because the real challenge is not becoming wealthy for a moment, it is carrying value far enough that it still exists when you need it, and still remains when others depend on you. In the age of abundance, time may be the longest walk of all. The world is changing faster than most people realise. If you want to understand where money, technology, and society are heading next, subscribe and follow the transition in real time. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not financial advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold Bitcoin or any other asset. Crypto assets are volatile and high risk. You could lose all of the money you invest. Always do your own research, consider your personal financial situation, and speak to a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions.